one of the things that makes Nigerians feel that the economy is shaky is the issue of the subsidy. We've been talking about it. And of course, we've heard that the federal government has gotten $800 million from the World Bank. We do not really understand the condition or requirements around that 800 million naira yet. But as the date to end that petrol subsidy draws closer, there are talks as in how can the impacts, the harsh impacts, be curtailed? Where should the savings go to, apart from that $600 million? And the oil marketers have been talking about building about 30,000 gas stations to cushion the effect of that proposed removal of subsidy on PMS, which you all know as petrol. But let's hear the perspective now of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria. We have the national president joining us virtually from Abuja. Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry joins us for this conversation. Dr. Harry, thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning, channels, for having us. Good morning, Nigeria.
Great. So are you excited about this removal of subsidy? What's the stance of your association?
Well, we as an association that is focused on ensuring that petroleum product delivery is efficient, knowing fully well that this is a very critical input into the growth of the economy on a daily basis. We, for some time, have been on the side of removal of subsidies, and we have our very good reasons why. We are the last mile on the petroleum distribution value chain. So we are the ones that interface with the end users, farmhands, farmers, housewives, and everybody else, even up to the head of state of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, depends on our retail outlets for his daily assignments. So we are very, very certain that with the maths we have done, that removing subsidy will help us. We cannot be investing trillions of naira in paying for subsidy when our refineries are lying comatose, they are not activated, we do not have effective pipelines working, our rail lines are not efficient. We could invest this money wisely and carefully with painstaker input and participation, because I think it has got to a time in Nigeria when we shouldn't leave what concerns us as it concerns growing the economy to the hands of only those who we have elected to be in office. We as the people should be able to speak up and really do what is necessary to help our country to grow. So we are excited that subsidy removal is in the horizon, and the regulation will be fully settled. But however, we as an association also insist that there must be values that we must ensure are in place. For instance, if subsidy is going to be removed in June, we should expect stakeholder meetings and stakeholder intervention and stakeholder analysis of what this will mean. Not just leaving it to the government, to the ministers of finance and thereabout, to determine what will happen to us. Because all we are hearing is we are looking for palliatives, we are borrowing money from World Bank, $800 million to pay. That is not going to help this country in any way. We already are a very heavily indebted nation, and we need to be careful and cautious about how much we are adding to our debt portfolio. So for us as an association, we are happy. We have offered solutions. The gas skills that are being talked about, Petron has been in the forefront of analyzing and profiling 17,000 retail outlets in the country to be able to benefit from the auto gas project. We have not seen where that is going. Now we are looking out for how we can fund that ourselves. We are hoping that when we start the process and get some level of access. This morning I just spoke to our financiers and our technical experts who are going to have meetings with us later tonight to discuss the processes. We don't just want to come out and say this is what we're doing. We want to be sure that what we're doing is going to impact Nigeria and provide the necessary support to cushion the removal of subsidy and full deregulation of the subsidy.
Okay, so sounds like, first of all, I'm curious. You say you have done your maths It would be interesting to know that, Matt. And then we would also like to know how you see this issue of gas stations working. But first of all, I mean, let us into that math that your association has done concerning this removal of subsidy.
Well, the math we've done is simple. We are spending, it's just a very simple arithmetic. We are spending about 6 point something trillion per annum to pay subsidies for only petrol. That is not the only source of energy that we should be dependent on. We should be dependent on gas, LPG, CNG, different kinds of gas that our association is also working. As I speak to you today, a critical member of the association is already applying for the flared gases to be able to convert them also into energy that can drive our automobiles and other motors. Now, if we take that 6 point something trillion and invest it in just only one refinery, say Warri Refinery, and that Warri Refinery in 9 months come on stream, we can easily project that we would have removed the cost of transferring business to other countries by doing the petroleum swap. We would have been sure that employment of our teeming youths would be guaranteed. We can be sure that because importation from foreign would have been removed, and so many middlemen costs would also have been removed, and the dollarization process would have been reduced very drastically, the cost of PMS may not even be in the neighborhood of what is being anticipated. If a Warri Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, the three refineries in both cities start working, we can be sure that we can easily produce at least 35 million liters of PMS per day for this country. So this maths doesn't need rocket science to analyze. But we, as an association, take our time to engage professionals, experienced men and women who have been in the industry for years, to work with us, to advise me as the national president on exactly what these situations will be. So we don't just bandy figures, we do our maths. And I've just given you just a little insight and oversight of how this can work. So then imagine that you have saved this money for 4 years. For 4 years, you are talking about a minimum of 24 trillion. 24 trillion naira can change this economy in every aspect, from transportation, air transportation, rail transportation, electric motors, farming, our cassava, to be able to produce ethanol, different kinds of agricultural cash products that can also be encouraged by this size of money. That Nigeria should not just be self-sufficient in internal food consumption, but also exports.
Okay, Dr. Harry, I'm wondering in that math, the reality is that we have not been saving this money. So that means, I mean, the 24 trillion you talked about does not exist. So that means that even if we start saving now, there's also the issue of the time lag. Because if we were to start working on, as you noted, the Warri Refinery, there's a time for processing, for rehabilitation, for skills and all of that upgrade before it can start functioning. But as it is now, we're in April, and it's supposed to be by the middle of the year, subsidy will end. So I'm thinking, what is the reality of it now? Because even when you talk about saving the money that is used to pay subsidy, let's remember that the country is highly indebted and the government is still borrowing to fund the budget. So that means that some of those money are even still being borrowed. You know, so these are some of the harsh realities that we need to...
Let me take some work from you so that we can, first of all, we don't need to save 24 trillion. Every day, as I speak with you, subsidy is being paid. So where are we getting the money from? We are getting it from borrowing with wagering of our crude oil sales. So you don't need to save 24 trillion to engage in the business. Now, Every private sector businessman is involved in business for profit and for service. So if, as a businessman today, the government wakes up and says, Petron, we want you to work with us to take over Port Harcourt refinery as it is today and make it work, I can wager anything to let you know that in less than 6 months, that refinery will work. Because we are not going to pad the costs. We'll be realistic. We'll be Spartan. We will definitely make sure that we put our money where our mouth is. So it is not about saving 24 trillion. I'm only just projecting a figure that if every year we are spending 6.something trillion, and you are not going to spend that money in just paying subsidy. What is subsidy really? You are paying money for importing product that you are reducing the cost for consumers. How many years are we going to do that before we realize that we are running this country down and we'll get to a place where bread will be looking to cost about 2,000 naira, and then we're going to get ourselves into trouble. So we must all realize that this country is all we have and we must protect it. And that is why it's important to educate the teeming masses, to educate all the agencies, the associations, stakeholder institutions like NLC, Dupeng, IPMAN, MOMAN, DAPMAN, Petron, and as the case may be, that we all need to work to ensure that this country is safe. So that's just what I want to let you know. Okay? Now, so long as we are not paying that subsidy, and we are going to be inventive, we're going to think out of the box to make sure that our gas, our auto gas projects work. There are auto gas already working here. NIPCO is already running auto gas for a long time in this country. There are several vehicles that are being run on gas as I speak to you today. So what stops us from mass producing, from making sure that the government invests money in encouraging cars to be converted to gas? These are the things that we are talking about, and that's what the subsidy money today could be put in. We don't want to talk about health. We don't want to talk about education. We want to just focus on just that issue. So if you are going to put 6 trillion in paying subsidy, I can tell you that that's a lot of money to do. I mean, I'm a businessman. I know the meaning of 1 naira, and I know the meaning of 6 trillion naira. It's a humongous sum of money. So it's not something that we should just bandy around and say this is what we're spending. What's going to happen to our country in the next 20 years? That's what we should think about when we talk about subsidy.
All right, Dr. Harry, let me just chip this in before we let you go, because we're almost out of time. How do you see this gas station or auto gas working? Because as you've noted, I know the federal government talked about converting petrol cars to auto gas some years ago. I don't know how successful that has been. I've not personally had contact with a gas driven car. So how do you see that working? Where would the demand, or even if you're talking of the conversion, when should we start that conversion to be able to meet up? And I do know that oil markets are talking about going to the CBN to get loan to be able to implement this.
The CBN had before now promised to put about 500 billion on the table or more, and gave conditions precedent to accessing the money. That project has never happened. We have been briefed, 1 or 2 persons have had access to it. The conditions are very stringent, and it does not in any way encourage a young Nigerian businessman that's looking for capital to be able to invest in the business. But that's where our slogan, stronger together, comes to play. In Petron, we believe we are stronger together. So to let you know that the auto gas project can work. And all that is needed is not so much of how much central bank is going to loan us or not. So I wish everybody who is looking for central bank loan success. But honestly, Petron will not be looking at that, because at the end of the day, we as Petron have engaged central bank. And the conversations have never been in any way encouraging. They have set up regional committees. From the southeast, south-south, we have met with the central bank people there. And nothing great came out of it. So we are looking for, we've already sourced for companies that are willing to invest money in Nigeria. But of course, we need the policies to be stable, and we want the government to support us. We want the policy that is being rolled out for the auto gas project to support us. So that way, our 18,000 plus members we've already vetted about 17,000, out of which 7,000 are strategic locations that could be very successful in running the auto gas project. So we believe as an association that auto gas is a good thing. The Nigerian gas expansion program was a very bright idea, but we need to advance on the process, and stakeholders need to really hold the federal government accountable to that. But that also is one of the things that the president, before he doesn't take anything to disburse 500 billion, but what will it, 500 billion naira in this auto gas project will amount to little or nothing. Because you have to get the CNG border station, the doctor stations, you have to get the conversion centers, you have to get the conversion kits, you have to get into the conversion process. So we are not saying central bank should throw money into the ocean, but I mean they should call us and engage us on exactly what are the rules, what are the terms that can make the auto gas project work with an association like Petroleum.
So if you give us like an imaginary timeline from your perspective, we know that
Yes.
subsidy has been provided for up until June, the middle of this year. So subsidy has to go according to the PIA. What should we be doing now? Because even when you talk about auto gas, you still have to get the buying of Nigerians and get them to convert. Majority of the cars in Nigeria are still petrol-driven. You know, to get them buying into that, convert their cars, and give us a proposed timeline that you see that is realistic for these gas stations and, you know, with the subsidy removal.
Let me say this. 1977, when I left secondary school, by 1978, most of us were shuttling to schools in the UK, US, and all of that. Most of us came back to Nigeria with dual fuel cars, gas and petrol. Since 1978, in Port Harcourt City, we drove cars with LPG cylinder in our cars, and we go and fill it and use LPG to fire our automobiles. So it is not a rocket science. The time that is really nothing so difficult about it is the availability of money to be able to do that. And today, science and technology and manufacturing has already brought in quite a lot of reprieve. For instance, you can easily go to Taiwan or go to China or even go to Colombia and buy quality conversion kits. And once the conversion kits are there, for instance, petrol stations, at least about 1,500 of them registered for the conversion centers. So it's easy for the conversion kits to be sent, trained converters, which forms even a local employment vehicle. You know, so conversion can be done in days, in months. And as they are converting, you can decide what type of gas that you want to use to run. Is it CNG? Is it LPG? And if any of these gases are in abundance, these gases are in abundance in Nigeria. So we can easily convert. And then the public getting it will be a matter of the cost of conversion. At the last time we checked, each vehicle can be converted with about 290-something thousand naira. Now, how do we work to reduce that money so that every Nigerian can be able to convert their cars? That is what I think we should be talking about. And that is what this money should be tailored and driven to. And organizations such as Petroleum should be consulted to be able to make, because we have documents, we have data, we have valuable resource to make this project work. And it's not a rocket science. It doesn't need 10 months to do. It needs just weeks. You can ship a whole cargo plane of conversion kits from China in 11 hours flight. So provide the money, and then we can be able to start working on it. Then give this, if government wants to do something really, really serious to work on this, they could even invest in that listen and give it free to citizens. That's what I advocate.
All right, Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry, National President, Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your ideas. We do wish the association will push forward these ideas, and then as the subsidy goes off, we'll see these new ideas. I guess it will be a lot of relief for Nigerians. It will bring down the cost of transport and hence food, which are the two major drivers of inflation in the country.